Part 8. Uncovering the Scandal. The dim light of the hospital's archives barely illuminated the dust-covered shelves that stretched into the shadows. This was a place forgotten by time, a graveyard of records and memories that the living chose to ignore. Hannah and Laura stood side by side, their faces drawn with exhaustion, but their eyes burning with determination. This was their last hope to find the truth buried beneath layers of secrecy and silence. Hannah's hands trembled as she pried open a worn leather-bound ledger. The pages crinkled, releasing a musty scent that mingled with the cold, stale air. "These records go back decades," she whispered, tracing her finger over faded entries. "This place has seen too much death," Laura nodded, her expression grim. "We need to know why." She picked up another file, flipping through the brittle pages with care. "If the spirits are trapped here, if they're crying out for help, then something happened, something terrible." Hours passed, the silence broken only by the rustling of paper and the occasional creak of the old building. Every so often, Hannah would glance over her shoulder, half expecting to see the flicker of a shadow or feel the icy touch of a ghostly presence. The air in the archives was colder than the rest of the hospital, as if the spirits themselves were watching, waiting for their secrets to be revealed. It was Laura who found the first clue, a faded photograph tucked between two pages. The image was grainy, showing a young mother cradling a newborn, her face a mixture of exhaustion and joy. "Look at this," Laura said, holding it up. "She looks happy, alive." Hannah's chest tightened. What happened to her? She turned the page, and her breath caught. There, scrawled in hurried handwriting, was a death record. Both mother and child had died within hours of the photo being taken. The cause was listed as complications. But something about the wording felt off, clinical, dismissive, almost cold. "This doesn't add up," Hannah said, her voice low and tense. "It's like they were trying to brush it under the rug." Laura's eyes darkened. "It's more than that." She held up another file, this one marked with a red X. Inside were reports of neglect, mothers left unattended during labor, infants born without the proper medical care. The language was sterile, detached, but the implications were horrific. "They knew," Laura whispered, her voice shaking. "They knew these women and children were dying, and they did nothing, or worse," Hannah added, her stomach churning. She picked up a report detailing experimental treatments, unapproved procedures performed on expectant mothers under the guise of advancement. "They used them as experiments," she said, bile rising in her throat. "These women were nothing but test subjects." The realization hit them like a physical blow. The hospital's dark past was not just a series of unfortunate tragedies, it was a deliberate, systematic abuse of power. Lives had been sacrificed in the name of progress, buried under lies and red tape. And the spirits that haunted them now were the restless echoes of those who had suffered. "Is this why they can't move on?" Laura asked, tears welling in her eyes. "Because no one ever acknowledged what happened. Because no one cared." Hannah nodded, her jaw clenched. "They want justice. They want to be remembered." Before they could say more, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. Frost formed along the edges of the shelves, and the air grew heavy, oppressive. "They hear," Laura whispered, her breath visible in the cold. Shadows gathered in the corners, swirling like a storm. The oppressive weight of the spirit's collective pain pressed down on them, making it hard to breathe. Suddenly, the flickering outline of a woman appeared, her face gaunt, her eyes hollow. "Why did you let it happen?" she demanded, her voice a mix of rage and sorrow. "We were promised safety. We were promised care." Hannah stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We didn't know," she said, her voice cracking. "We're trying to make it right. Please, let us help you." The specter's eyes blazed with anguish. "Help? It's too late for that. We suffered. We died. And they hid it." "Not anymore," Laura said, her voice firm despite her trembling. "We'll bring it to light. We'll make sure everyone knows." The spirit wavered, as if caught between hope and despair. But before she could respond, a dark, swirling mass of shadow erupted from the floor, its form monstrous and shifting. The oppressive cold intensified, and the presence radiated malevolence. "Leave," it hissed, its voice echoing with countless others. "This is not your fight." The shadows surged forward, knocking Hannah and Laura back. They hit the ground hard, gasping for breath. "It's trying to stop us," Hannah said, panic in her voice. "It doesn't want the truth revealed." Laura scrambled to her feet, her eyes blazing. Too bad. They grabbed the files and ran, the shadows pursuing them with a ferocity that spoke of desperation. The corridors twisted and stretched, the hospital itself seeming to conspire against them. Doors slammed shut, the air grew colder, and the lights flickered wildly. It was a nightmare brought to life, but they couldn't stop, not now. They burst into the main hall, their breath ragged. The shadows halted, retreating just enough to give them space but never disappearing. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, watching, waiting for them to falter. "We have to show this to someone," Laura said, clutching the files to her chest. "People need to know what happened here, but who will believe us?" Hannah asked, her voice filled with despair. "We're two nurses with stories of ghosts and secrets buried decades ago." Laura's grip tightened. "We'll make them believe." The shadows flickered, as if mocking their resolve. The cold pressed in again, and the child's voice echoed through the hall. "You must finish it," he said, his form appearing for a brief moment. "Please, don't let it happen again." Hannah's heart broke at the sight of him. "We won't," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I promise." The shadows surged once more, their fury palpable. But this time Hannah and Laura stood their ground. The spirits were counting on them, and they would not let them down. The fight was far from over, but the truth was finally coming to light. The hospital's dark legacy would no longer be hidden, and the restless spirits, they would be heard.